Okay, Amanda, go for it.
My name is Amanda Charles. I run Charles Estates, and obviously I'm here at Keller Williams. I have been in the industry for 13 years. I was Rookie of the Year my first year. My second year was my learning year, and I've been in the top 10 solo agents every year since. And my business is 100% built on the connections I have and being grounded in my community and having very strong relationships with my clients. I'm 100% referral based at this point in my career. So since this is where I've always taught negotiations, because I think that's where our true value add is, but this is a new one for me, so give me some grace. But this is where the heart of my business is, where my heart is in business, is really how do we make clients for life, not just with them, but within their immediate family and friends as well. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. I'm gonna make sure I get you the clicker.
So as much as my real estate brain is very, very formal, when I speak, I tend to be informal. So just feel free, she's here. Make sure you come to his class.
We should introduce him on the spot when he's ready.
You can go ask him.
Yeah.
So today, obviously we have our course overview. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on anything. You can see we're in strengthening our relationships. You have your agenda, so I don't think I need to go over that. So the first thing to realize is when you approach a client, the number one thing that you need is not a knowledge base. The number one thing you need to have is a mindset, and make sure you are in the appropriate mindset for the situation that you're going in. And this is going to not just like, hi, my name is Amanda Charles. Oh, your name's Sharon? Great. It's going to be making sure Amanda is there. And am I approaching a buyer that's a first-time home buyer, a fixer-up buyer at the $300,000 mark? Or am I preparing my mindset that I'm walking into a $750,000, $1.5 million client? You need to adjust your mindset for that because you want to be at their level and never above or below. So there's an interesting term that I ran across, which was emotional proximity. And it's the strongest of the time they are ready to transact. So you guys were listening to Matt, and he kind of rated them like the 1 through the 10. And so that was his mechanism. I go off of the facts too, but I also have that emotional connection that I really rely heavily on, because some people will be in the position, well, I think I'm a year out, but with then encouragement and guidance, they realize that they're actually could be in a position now versus later. And so making sure you're having a good connection. We can't control when that moment happens, right, Brian? We all want them to go now, sign a contract now, and it doesn't happen that way. So what can we control? We can influence our emotional proximity to the people in our world through our follow-up and the frequency that we do that, well, frequency and intensity, right? You want to buy now? You want a new car? You want a new car now? How about now? No, tomorrow? Text you again. So, are you going to be that kind of person, or are you really listening to, I'm not ready to buy a new car today. I am just starting my investigation. I'm not ready to buy a house. Going back to your, car analogy there. All right. So are you guys pretty familiar with the shift? Have you guys talked about shift and that kind of stuff? Not so much. You'll hear me reference the shift through our discussion today. Okay. Now let's go. Know that growth comes from clarity, priorities, and focused action. Sounds pretty correct, Tom? Because in The Shift, which is a very good book that I recommend that everyone reads, if you need a copy, you're welcome to come see me. I have several copies I'm willing to lend out or give to you, depending on what your needs are. So Gary and his writing team remind us that 3 things that lead to growth. The first 2 are thinking steps. First, we need to clarity around the goal and the priorities. Then we get into action. So one of the defining moments I had in my career is I was probably about year 3 or 4. I'm very mindset oriented. But what am I doing? And I was talking to 2 other top agents who were like, you get new in the business, like, oh, they do so much business, and you're so impressed, and you try to follow their lead. So I was talking about like, how do your discussions go when you go to a listing appointment? Because I always knew I wanted to do listings, and I realized that during this roundtable discussion that I was the only one there. When I walk into my appointment, of course, you have your greeting, and I asked them to sit on the couch or at the table, depending on what's easily available, because sometimes one has laundry and the other has dishes or what may have you. But I asked them, why am I here? Like, obviously they have a real estate need. Okay, no need to, obviously if I'm in listing appointments to buy, but there is going to be a need behind why you're at that appointment. And when you can identify what that need is, you're going to be able to work towards their goals, not just your goals. And I always like to break here, for newer agents, because I fell victim to this too, and the mentality that when you go to a listing appointment, a seller's goal is not always to make the most amount of money. You have to listen to them and what their goals are. If they sit down and they're like, so Sharon, if you're gonna role play with me, you know, I'm just gonna use your name.
Yep.
So Sharon, so tell me why I'm here. And all of a sudden you start telling me about, well, you know, my husband Nate, we need to move down, his job transferred him to Phoenix, Arizona. I really need to be settled. He's gonna go down early, but I wanna make sure that I'm in there by the time that school begins, right? So that's gonna be a major, major influencer. So yes, they can make money here. Yes, making money so they can put more down on the next house is important, but their goal is time frame. So you're gonna be able to work your everything around their time frame and accomplishing their goals. And when you accomplish their goals, you're strengthening the relationship, right? Or they can say, mom has cancer, I need to move now, and I need the money to support her. These are different scenarios versus someone like, I heard it's a pretty hot market, I'd like to make some money. That's a goal too, but there are 3 different families in 3 different situations, so never approach an appointment the same way and think your clients have the same goal of making money. When you can identify their goals, you can meet their goals and strengthen that relationship, because they all see, Sharon, you were the problem solver for me. You helped me. I was in this, because a lot of times sellers are in a crisis mode, right? Is they have some major life-changing event. It can be divorce, it can be birth, it can be sickness, you know, it's some empty nesters, there's just lots of emotions involved.
And sometimes we have the sellers who are like, I don't have to sell. That's when the art of asking deeper questions to really figure out what that motivation is. So why are they putting it on the market?
So there's a goal other than selling. There is a goal somewhere in there, and sometimes it's just developing that conversation. So the next part, it really wants to go into lead generation in the database model. I guess yesterday you worked on tools to convert leads. And this morning as well, right, with Matt. So how do we define the difference between a lead and a contact? Any ideas on Zoomland?
Leads is forming the relationship, whereas contacts would be making already existing relationship stronger.
Sure. That's good. So leads are the people who have you have contact information for, right? And you have a way to follow up on. So it could be an open house and you have them fill out a sign-in sheet. It could be you're doing an expired campaign or a cancel campaign or farming. And that time, most of the time you just have a name and an address. And the contacts, so that's a lead. So contacts are the people who you know you can have a reciprocal conversations with. So this isn't somebody who clicked on your Zillow ad who just wanted more information. This is someone that you're sitting down, you're having a conversation with. You can text back and forth, call back and forth, whatever you may have. But they're going to be in a contact that you're in open dialogue with them, right? So what's the difference between a contact and a lead for importance wise? I think it all goes back to that like 1 through 10 that Matt brought up, right? Is so a lead can be 1, and your contact, if you're in open discussion, is probably going to be that, you know, 6 or above that you're actively working with. So do you want to do every exercise they have here?
Whatever you feel called.
Okay. So again, so like an expired campaign, a cancel campaign, that's a lead. Someone that you got like at an open house where you have all their contact information, you have multiple ways to connect with them, that's your contact. And so, let's see if my brain can keep up with the slides. Oh, hey, that's what we were just talking about. You can see, and then this is a good one, a demonstration. You can see on the left-hand side that leads, they'll actually if with a good follow-up campaign and nurturing them, they're gonna move over and end up being a contact for you. They say, we all intend to be successful as real estate professionals. Success is built on relationships. And then one of the top agents that Gary had on for Red Talk, which is when they get up in the front of family reunion or at mega camp, he has a good panel of people. And one of his attendees said, focus on building relationships and take market share. And I think that's a super powerful phrase, because when you have that relationship, people want to do business with you, right? There's a reason they want to communicate with you. Okay. There we go. All right, start with mindset. So today's conversation is tomorrow's transaction. I think that's pretty important, because we're here, why? We're here to start conversations, right? We're here to meet people. We're here to expand our sphere of influence, to increase our database. But you can do that in a lot of ways and increase your database. You can get 100 people today and put your database, and it doesn't mean you have any kind of connection with them at all. It doesn't mean you ever had to talk to them at all. So really making sure that you have conversations with people, and a conversation takes what? At least 2 people. So you and somebody else. And so, and if there's multiple, like the husband, wife, hopefully, involves both of them. So, because once you meet your new contacts, you either do business with them immediately or you don't. Either way, once you've met them, you put them in your database and stay in touch with them forever. So I'm a big one for, if you attend our roundtables, we had one last week, we have another one coming up Friday this week at noon. And it's on Zoom, you guys can attend. And it's about, so I like to do expired and canceled campaigns, and I'll get their contact information, and they stay in my database forever. I have, my immediate 6-week follow-up with them, but they do not go out of my database until they say, please remove me. Does it mean I have contact with them every single day or every single month? Nope. But guess what? What am I becoming for them? I am becoming consistency, and I'm becoming top of mind, which is, as you're going through your database and you're developing how often your 36 touch and stuff, which we'll get into, which if you ever read 33 touch, it has now evolved to 36 touch. We need to evolve that. You'll stay top of mind, and when they are ready, when they become that 6 through 10 that Matt mentioned, that's when they're going to be able to reach out to you. Because what do people like? They like people who are reliable. They like people who are consistent. So when you can maintain that consistency with them, that's really good. And I like this one because it says the second C of our WI for C2Ts is commitment. And that means commitment in all things. And so it's not just to doing good business today, but some commitment to your clients too, and establishing your relationship now and committing to be there for them in the future. And that's not just clients, but your contacts. So we kind of talked about this already, which is identify their goals. And so that's the question. That's your why. So we're taught at Keller Williams and in any kind of entrepreneurship class, what is your big why? Your client has a big why, and you're trying to figure that out, and your job is to help them solve that problem. All right, so convert contacts to close business. We're going to do that through several different mechanisms. Now, let me read and be official, huh? So take a look at this graph and compare it to the wave graph, where every person in your database is on the wave of being ready to buy. In this graph, we have lead generation phase on the left, where you are gathering and storing leads rather quickly. In fact, you can generate leads in days or weeks. So that's what I told you, lead generation. Any of us can go on and pull canceled listings. We can go to the borough municipality tax records. You can go to Remind. You can get their name, their email, or their mailing address for sure. And then you potentially with Remind, you can get their phone number and email address if it's in there. But I mean, you could go do and add 100 people in your mailing campaign right away. Why do people tend not to do that? Mailers are a softer, longer approach. So it's an indirect. If you ever heard of MOFR, MOFRs are basically the easier way to call that is called a call of action. Keller Williams loves acronyms, so they got the MOFR, but there's direct and indirect. So an indirect form of a MOFR when, and you can read this in the shift on page 61. It talks about direct versus indirect. And an indirect is something like a mailing campaign. Like you get somebody in and you're saying, here's the monthly updates in Palmer. Here's, the statistics for Wasilla this last month, or Homer, or Juneau, Fairbanks, wherever you happen to be. So that's an indirect. So then you have more of a call to action. So another pretty common one for indirect would be like, would you like a current market analysis of your property? yeah, it's gonna get some people, it's not gonna get the others. But you're really wanting to seek out those direct moments of contact with people. And this is gonna, again, there's a lot of words on here, but I'm just gonna be very real with you. You're gonna be able to move at their pace, not your pace. Okay, and the longer you're in real estate, you're gonna find that balance. In the beginning, if you're doing real estate only, all you have is time, right? If you're juggling 3 jobs, like one of our attendees here, obviously that's not the case. But you have time to give and give and give. And nurture those leads, so make sure that you're doing that. And then once you have these leads, you've established a base of trust. Maybe you took that address that you had from an expired campaign. Maybe you actually go door knock with them. Maybe you start having a conversation with them. You're able to now garner further information. Is the monthly mailer I'm sending to you valuable? What do you like about it? What other information can I provide to you? Have a conversation without saying, hey, you wanted to sell. Do you still want to sell? Like, that's not the point. You're like, what is their goal? What do they want to do? And maybe their goal changed. Maybe they cancel the listing because guess what? My husband's job on the slope or in Arizona got canceled. We're not moving now. Well, guess what? So they don't have an immediate need right now, but we're looking at going down next year when the new plant opens. And so you're going to be able to add these notes to your CRM, whether you use Command or another system, and set reminders for you in there. That's going to be really important. And so a big one with it. This is a funny example that I thought of. So have you ever said, like, let's use me for an example. So I love Boston proper, right? I love Venus, I love Nordstrom Rack, I love clothes. What else do I love? I love a good deal. So I find a code to get a piece of clothing for 20% off, right? So I happily enter my email address, and I get my little code. I've met my immediate need. I can buy what I want now. But guess what happens? It's happened to all of you. Do you get another email next week or a text message for next month? How many times do they contact you? Buy another shirt. Do you like this one? Buy another gun. Do you like whatever you're buying, right? So we're not the only industry that has client follow-up in CRMs, right? And we all know through technology that technology is getting smarter and smarter, that, I'm gonna probably buy business class stuff. I'm not gonna buy steampunk stuff. And so that's the system learning me, just kind of like Matt talked about, what homes are they actually opening up? When he brought that example up of, somebody had looked at it 20 some times and the next one below that was 8. That's keying into, I would take that and develop that conversation as like, I'm so glad to see, I think Joe Duffy was his name or something like that. That you've opened this. I noticed that you have a lot of interest in it. Tell me, what exactly about this one do you like so much? Learn more, because obviously you got their search parameters enough to narrow it down to find a house that they like. But if they're opening it at 3 times the rate than any other home, there's something that goes home with them. So make sure that you're opening those emails, seeing what they're concentrating on, and look at that. Again, back to the email thing, I signed up because I had a need now. I want now. If the buyer visits an open house and they don't want to sign in, guess what? They probably just don't have a need now. Doesn't mean you shouldn't ask for it. Doesn't mean you shouldn't add them to your database. But in their level of interest, if they're hesitant, it's they just don't have a need now. You don't need a new car today, do you? Nope, but you're kind of interested. What kind of new features are out there, right? Air suspension, is it new fancy tiles or lighting fixtures? Just getting ideas, but they have the interest there. And so always keep that in the back of your mind. And I always I know it's really said too much, but just because it's a no today doesn't mean it's not a no in 6 months from now. I mean, just keep working at it. So back to the email one, have any of you lovely Zoom people signed up for that example? Like, have you signed up online to receive some kind of discount or an email, and then you started getting email after email after email?
Yes, I do it all the time.
Right? And so at some point, you remove yourself from the mailing list because you no longer have that need. But if you're still kind of interested, I'm gonna keep it there. I mean, because you never know. I might want another suit jack. I might want a 4-plex next time, even though I have a duplex this time. So there's a point to it, and it's good for keeping in contacts. So quality and frequency of follow-ups often makes a difference. So then it goes back to MOFers. you are really going to need to develop it goes back to what Sharon says, is being very genuine to yourself and developing your business around that, because the more genuine you are to yourself and how you want to be in business, you will attract those people and you will give that message, which will bring more people who are like you to your world. We all have clients that we thought we're gonna be best friends, and then no, doesn't happen, right? But sometimes you do develop those really good relationships. So staying top of mind, that's your 36 touch. And leverage mind share for referral business. So a big part, what do we have a huge advantage as agents, right? So if I'm with State Farm and I know I'm going to go move to, say, like Florida, because that's where I want to retire. My guy here with State Farm, he doesn't get a referral fee down in Florida when I move, right? But as agents, you really need to tap into that. So I heard one of the military people online here saying that you're just new to the area, right, and trying to develop that. You should be also taking part of your time, in my opinion, in owning in on the business that was where you were, because that's where your connections were. So say you moved from Tennessee, right? And in Tennessee, at that base, you had a good group of friends, you had all of that. Make sure that you're in connection with those people, you're keeping those people top of mind, don't drop the relationships, and make sure in your own, whatever your way is to let them know that you are here for them. So when their move comes up, you will find them the right agent who is just a quality agent as you are. And you guess what? Unlike the State Farm Guy insurance agency, you are going to be able to get referral based off of that. And if it's, how easy is it to have a name in your database and establish relationship, call, interview 2 or 3 other realtors in other areas and get 20 to 30% commission on that? When all you had to do to get that money was be in relationship, which is no different than being in relationship with people in your own town. So always keep your database that you have, even if you're moving to a new location, keep it top of mind. And do not let that go, because that is future money for you. So you need to stay top of mind with not only buyers, but sellers. And so that when they think of real estate, they think of you. And so naturally follows that goal number 2 of nurturing relationships with our contacts to stay top of mind, which we talked about. The data shows that most sellers and buyers only interview one agent before choosing to work with them. And so, and the strongest thing we can do is, Helen, if I'm going to go to you, I'm new to the town, right? And I need a hairstylist. You think that's a very personal connection? Someone hiring a hairstylist or a beard trimmer, whatever the case is. So versus doing a Google search and like hairdresser in Wasilla, Alaska, I'm gonna go, Helen, you've lived here forever. Who do you use? And you're gonna tell me who you use, right?
Yeah.
In my part, I trust you. So my trust in you is now passed on to the hairdresser. That's the kind of relationship you want with your friends and your clients, so that they have the confidence, because going in with the largest financial transaction of somebody's life in most cases is real estate, and it takes a huge amount of trust. And when they can get a referral from someone that they trust, it's just going to automatically set you up. So I cannot tell you how important relationships are.
Can I add to that?
You can.
Okay. So for the way I built my business is kind of like using that, but the reverse more. So I am the expert of Alaska. I am a military spouse. I moved up here. I am now the expert. So all these people that are moving up here, I answer all those questions for them. Doesn't have anything to do with real estate. I just tell them what's the best park to go play at or whatever. And kind of gives them an idea. So now they trust me. So then the next step is, let's talk about a house or whatever, or where you guys are gonna live. And then now they trust me to give them the best advice, because they saw that whatever I told them is actually valid.
Right, because you became the source of knowledge, a
Yep.
person they could trust.
Yeah.
Right? And so, do you think with how many people we're told, like real estate agents, you need to have a database, you need to have a database. Do you think Amanda Charles, I'm a realtor, I've been doing it 13 years, have, I would say, a successful business. Do you think that I'm in other people's databases for real estate? I've bought homes, I've sold homes. Guess what call I get every single September, October? Hi, this is XYZ with the Kristen Cole team. We have a free pie we'd like to give you. In return, we'll give you a CMA as well. Tell them every year, I'm a realtor, I don't need you. They push on, they push on. So I'm in a database, in Kristen Cole's database. Never bought or sold with her. But I'm in her database, she got my information somehow. Right? And then, so that's a very, that's a, out of the MOFR, that's the call of action. That's a very direct contact, right? They have, I am a true contact because they have my phone number, they could get me on the phone. And because I'm a good realtor, I answer the phone. And, but more indirect way, which like with the expired campaign, a very powerful example to me when it really came home is 2021. I had a client, Mrs., right? She got a hold of me, Mrs. Seller, and she said, my husband has had your magnet on our fridge for 5 years. Never met him, didn't have a phone number for him, they were expired. 5 years later, because I was consistent and staying in contact with them, they never picked up the phone, but as soon as, you know, they hit that level 6, or however, whatever number you want to gauge, or how you want to gauge it, as soon as I became necessary, I was top of mind. So that's just evidence that there's direct and indirect ways to contact people and then start that relationship. You guys have any questions so far?
I'm doing great.
So, are there any ahas that anyone wanted to share? No? Okay. So devise the plan. And I'm just gonna, so communicate with your database. Okay. So you guys have already created the foundation for your 36 to convert, right? That was one of your previous classes. And then you designed your 19 to connect touch plan, and that was all during session 11. This is 12, so you did that this morning. Your 36 to convert is a very comprehensive plan, and it had a lot of different layers into it, obviously. And then it says it should contain a mixture of phone calls, newsletters, events, market updates, home valuations, and other value-based products. The trick is to find what people in your market value and design your touches to match what they value. Okay, so is it okay if I give you guys an example of what I do?
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple of examples. So I got into real estate and then I said, okay, what's the most important thing? What should I be doing in real estate? What should I make from day number one? I did this when we had a power outage at my last brokerage. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I don't have a computer. So I sat down with the top agents and said, what should I do? And they all said, start a database. So when I started, it was an Excel spreadsheet. You guys are empowered with command, so you have much better tools to you. But then as the years went on, you learn to use your CRM to a higher capability the longer in here. And if I could impress anything on you is to, when you have this time, when you're still in the learning process, take the words of wisdom of people around you and things that you hear and identify with and come as close to perfection with that thing before moving on to the next one. Because you are going to get a fire hose in your face about all the new expires, I can cancel, I can dork, open houses, I can call, pick up a phone book, I can pay for phone numbers. There's so many different things. You can tap into your database, it's sphere of influence, whatever. But these are the ones that really enjoy me. So I developed for my buyers. So when we go through that buyer strategy session, I think is what Matt called it. I said, let's sit down and talk about your goals and how I can achieve your goals. I'm very casual when I say it. One of the forms I send them home with, I always have homework. And I just created a 2-sided sheet and it has all their contact information if I didn't already have that on there. And then it says, what's your favorite place to get pizza? Do you like wine? Are you interested in clothing? Do you like home parties? Do you like board games? Do you like movies? Do you like photography? And what I did, and there's generalized things on there. So, the favorite pizza joint, if I notice because my CRM has their anniversary in there, I can send them, a gift card for their anniversary to their favorite pizza joint. Well, let's go back to clothing because I love clothes, right? I do in-home clothing parties. First, if you want to know the company, it's Cowdy, but it doesn't really matter what it is. You could like to do fly fishing materials. I don't care what it is, guns, hand grips, I don't care. You have an interest in that, you're passionate about that. You already want to get around and talk to that. So instead of throwing these big, huge events, we call them micro events. If I'm gonna have a party at my house, and like I love wine, and I'm gonna already have someone there to sell wines, and I know I'm gonna buy some, I wanna know if my clients connect with that. So that when I do an event in my CRM, I've created different tags, and it can be wine, fly fishing, guns, hunting, whatever your categories are. So I know I am doing tailored marketing directly to them in something that's of interest to them, right? You're building, you're adding value to their life based on what you like to do, and you're gonna get a deeper connection. Yes or yes, right? And also I wanted, this is a part, like I kind of go away from the standard, you know, one monthly email, one quarterly mailer, da, 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 da. I like most of my communication to come around events. Now it can be a holiday, or like this year coming up here on June 13th, I'm doing my 9th annual renting out the movie theater for my clients, their friends and family. And, and what I do is around that event, I have 6 touch points. So in the 6 weeks up to the event, they get a mailer, they get a call, they get another mailer, they get a text, they get a reminder email. And then we have the event, and then afterwards, I also do a thank you for coming, because I make sure they have to reserve in advance. And if they don't come, I reach out and said, hey, I missed you. You said you were gonna come. Are you okay? Because why do we do that? It shows that we care, right? So you've been invited to an event they've shown interest at and whatnot. Another way, a little thing that I like to do that is very successful, maybe you guys will do it. And so, you know, it doesn't take a lot, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, because like the in-home events, they don't cost you anything other than maybe a meat and cheese tray and some crackers and waters. And even if you have a good lender partner, if you want to invite them, they can provide that stuff and really do it $0 to you. But have those events, garner around those, build your database about things that don't take a lot of money. So, and one thing, I squirreled, I have to get back to it. At my client events, especially if it is, so a wine one where I'm having like 9 to 12 people at my house, I'm not gonna do it, or, but like my movie theater event. And so I do one slip that says update your contact information. And it's their name, their number, their birth date, their anniversary date, and their current mailing address. And it says, do you have plans to buy or sell in the next 12 months, 1 to 2 years, or 3+ years? Must be filled out completely to win the prize. The prizes are provided by who? My lender partner, my title partner, whoever, your best friend, yourself, whoever. So what? You just updated your database, right? And you got all their current information. Maybe you have their number and their email and their address, but you didn't have their wedding anniversary or their birthday. Now all of a sudden you've really delved out and filled out your database deeper. Because then what are you gonna do the last week of the month? You're gonna pull your CRM and says, tell me all the birthdays for June, all the anniversaries for June. And then you can do your handwritten card, your call, your text, whatever your mechanism is gonna be. And really make those personal touches. Also at my event, they get a second chance to win whatever the prize or prizes are. And that says, do you know somebody who's looking to buy in the next 1 to 2 years? And then their name and their number or email address. And people will give their friends' information away all day long. And again, it has to be complete in order to win. Am I promising them that? So could we worry about like, oh, you're promising to give them something in chance for a referral, right? Or a referral for their referral. You're gonna give them something. That's a chance. Everybody has a chance. It could say John Doe at johndoe.com. Like, it doesn't have to be real, because I don't know, because I'm doing a drawing. I just know when I pull the slip, it's either complete or not. So, but I've got a lot, I generally have between 80 to 100 people at my movie event. And I usually get a solid 14 leads. I'd say 12 to 14 leads on that. People I get to add in my database, I get to start those conversations. So if I could give you a couple little tips, the other third one I do at all my events. And mind you, in my marketing and when I'm touching this, I'm like, don't forget, here you'll have this chance. You'll have 3 chances to win. So during that 5 weeks prior to the event, they're having all this knowledge put into them about you have chances to win these prizes. The third event is if they tag myself or my lender partner that's there on social media and they show it to us on their phone, they get a 3rd chance to win. So you've updated your database, you've got a referral, and you got social media presence, right? It's phenomenal. And I usually get several hundred people liking me at my events because, you know, Mom does it, the kid does it, whatever, whatnot. I do cut it off at 18, you have to be 18 over, but just some little tips and tricks, how to delve into your database, tailor your database to what you like to do, share that with people. I think it's important to have the general events like the movies too, but then you can still make those, and like, I do costumes, like I did, what's the guy in the black and white suit? Beetlejuice last year. I did the second Beetlejuice, and so I had a costume contest that went with it. And so we got people in costumes. I'm doing Train Your Dragon, the movie this year. And people thought, like, we're gonna do costumes again, and I'm like, thought Vikings and the brass bras probably wasn't a good idea. So we're not doing a costume contest this year. But you can play with it, you can have fun with it. A lot of different agents. I've seen like around the holidays, Kelsey Dukakis is great at this. Anita Robeson is good at this, where they bring in their photographer and they can do pictures with Santa or fall pictures with the van in the parking lot. They have their friend do it. It's usually a low charge to them. It's a free value add to your clients. Well, what's the theme across all these? You're adding value to these people in your life. Did anybody have any questions around the event type mentality and how you can get a ton of communication just around that? No? All right. So with Matt, you went over the 6 connection questions. So who are they? What do they want or need to do? Where do they want or need to do it? Why, when, and how? And those all go back to our MOFers. Direct action can be, call to action, be like, I have a cash buyer. It's very powerful. It perks people's ears up. I would like to offer you a current market analysis. It's indirect, but some people will find it of value. And if you're consistent in doing it, then they're going to see that you're repeated. Like, you have a client, you sell your first home, and then why don't you just set up on their house anniversary, which is another card I send out to my clients every single year, to update them every single year, do another CMA, and just say, if you've updated, your house in any way, let me know, and I can adjust this to you and to your standards, or to the current market, excuse me. So I'd like some participation, because I'm feeling like I'm talking a lot, and I'm really good at talking a lot, but there should be participation.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do Brian, Cameron, then Kelly. Brian, can you give me an example of a MOFer, and it can be one that we mentioned or one on your own that you came up with that is indirect?
Brian's here.
And I thought there was a,
Yeah, me.
yeah, I thought I was talking to you. I'm like, what? Brian, in attendance.
A mofer?
Yeah, call to action that's indirect.
I got a few mofers in my life. Different kind.
Mhm.
I don't know, like, I guess I'm just paying attention to transition, try to get them into like for like a lunch or something. That was over here.
Yeah, and indirect, so you are giving them a call to action. Would you like a free CMA? It's not now, it's kind of indirect. You didn't make a call, you just said, would you like one? You're still getting information out there to them, but it's not a let's act now thing.
Gotcha, yeah, I don't know, I'm so new, I just like, I started out with just like reached out to them, just like, hey, see, especially my military roles, hey, see if they're still here, see if they're still in the state, see where they're at, see what they're up to these days, and then that just, it's like, oh, hey, like, if you need somebody down there, then I've got folks down there,
Yeah, it is. And so I don't know if everybody can hear him. So what he said is, with his military background, he's really touching base with who he has now, who's in his sphere now, and trying to work into a natural conversation, like when you move. And so I'm gonna tie in 2 conversations, one from the last class about why Keller Williams, someone said they wore like a tag or something like that, or a pin, and the military part. So a way I would use it as an indirect MOFer, it's going to be, you like, I'm obsessed with wife, I can't use the direct terms, but you can take what I say, work with it, right? All right, so you have your conversation, what you found out your new duty station?
So I learned the hard way, so I'm like, when I first got told that I needed to start reaching out to 10 contacts every day.
Mhm.
Literally the first one that I reached out to was we started with A's and then we started with B's, so I made the A's for the first day. And one of the B's, military folks were really direct, and then they're like, no, I'm not buying a house from you, Craig. And I'm just joking, yeah, but like my kind of clown. And I started like, okay, maybe I need to start transition a little softer in there.
Okay.
So now I'm just like, hey, what you guys up to, where you at? Because some of these guys, it's been a while since I
Talk to them.
Talk a little bit.
All right, but so the transition I was going with is you reconnect. How are they doing? Haven't talked to you in friggin' 2 years, man. What's up, life? How's your wife, Betty? You're doing all the fun stuff, right? Like, hey, dude, you heard where your new, where you're going, DUI, or where your new duty station is, whatever, right? Yeah, I'm going being sold to, New Orleans or wherever, right? Like, all right, heck, just FYI, and then you can slide in whatever is natural for you. Is that you have people down there, and this is where the Keller Williams part comes in, is we are part of the largest real estate companies in the world. And the reason I joined Keller Williams is because I have so many contacts that I can make sure that I can get you someone that you can trust down there.
Yeah.
So that's how I pull in the Keller Williams value add, is knowing that I have those connections nationwide. And I think it's a great area for military to really tie on. Not only do you have KW military, but just you have the broader Keller Williams as well, right?
I just feel like that's the hardest part, is like with military, we're so direct and to the point that like. If I hit you up with like some soft stuff, I'm trying to transition to like, what do you want? Like,
But if you're
we're
starting with
very-
your buddies,
Yeah, for sure. But even your buddies, like your buddies are the worst ones too.
Yeah.
So what do you want?
Yeah.
Or it is very direct like that. So I don't know, it's like a balance game that I'm still learning how to.
So you can be direct with them and indirect.
Yeah,
So what do you want? Hey, I'm looking to grow my business. Who do you know that I could be talking to? That, that I can help. So you're not asking them directly, you're deflecting. You're like, look, this is what I'm looking for. Can you help me? Cause look, I've got your back, man. If ever you need anything, or you're gonna break away from the military and you're gonna go off and start your own business. What I need from you is to help me out, cause I'm starting my own business. And I'm looking for people who are advocating for me. That's being
it goes
direct.
a long way. Yeah, reciprocal stuff goes a long way.
Yeah. So it's like that. You can just be direct and say exactly what you expect from them.
and what does it go back to? Knowing your audience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very close to.
Yeah, right.
Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. How about Cameron? Do you have an example of what a direct mofer or call to action would be?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry.
Okay. So remember that the direct would be a take action now type of thing. And so if you have a buyer you're working with, their cash, and you see maybe a for sale by owner that's listed on Zillow, right? They're gonna get a million realtors calling them. But when you say, I have a cash buyer, they're immediately gonna give you more attention and more notice. Okay, so what can you do to get action now? Would you like to come in for a buyer strategy session? Like, can I get you Thursday at 4, Friday at 1? You're getting action now versus indirect, which is pushing it down the road, taking a softer approach, which apparently Brian's military buddies don't want. So it's also, like I said, it's gonna be a balance between what your personality type is and what your audience is. Okay, so we just shared examples of mofers, so I can follow directions. Yeah, make offer for immediate response, and again, that's if you have the shift, it's page 61, where it starts talking that, and goes through page 81. And I only know that because I'm a complete geek. Let's see. We use a connection question, so develop your 36 touch plan. Have you guys started on your 36 touch plan? How deep are you into that?
No, they can actually turn on to their participant guide, so that we haven't delved into that, and this would take about just a few minutes if.
Okay, well, it's up to you, because it says give 13 minutes for you guys to develop your 36 touch plan. I don't think any good plan can be developed in 13 minutes, but I'll give each of you 2 minutes. I'll give you all 2 minutes to think, and then I'm gonna call on you guys, so if you can write down, tell me, based on what we've talked about today, the different ways that you connect with your clients, what are you committed to putting into place in the next 30 days so that you are consistently in front of your database that currently exists? What's something that you can implement in the next 30 days to have communication with your existing database? So we're not talking about adding to your database, we're talking about communication with your existing database. Give me 2 minutes. See my, why is it not showing? Yeah. Did I do that? I don't know. So if you guys wanna look in your planner, it's on page 12.7. If you need ideas. One minute. Brian, you got yours, bud?
Got a couple ready to go.
Perfect. Mr. Holland, I'm sure you're still writing, but I'm gonna call on you first, followed by Toby. Miss Holland. Miss? Is that you, Miss? Oh. It's in Homer. Yeah. Holland and Homer, I can remember that. Now another referral partner.
Like abbreviated, man. It's like more, we're all.
All right, Miss Holland, do you want to share with us what you came up with an actionable item within the next 30 days that you can implement to get in touch with your current database?
I've kind of been in and out of this class and tackling a few other things today, so I'm not totally haven't really gathered that completely, but I think like my big takeaway is that I need to just start calling my database, and especially folks that I can see that have been looking at houses more, like my subscriptions.
Yep, and so that's going to be, that is exactly what you need to do. One of the things, and that's a direct MOFR or a direct call of action. Because you are picking up the phone and you are calling somebody. It is not something, you're asking for a response now. You're not asking for a response in the future. All right, I think I said Toby after that, right? Thank you, Holland. Toby, you with us, bud? Okay, how about Kelly?
Hey, so I've just been in contact a lot with parents from my kids' sports teams. And then my husband's in the military, so been talking to a lot of people out of state that may be coming this way. And I've just been like the sports teams checking in, hey, your kid played a great game. Figuring out if and when they're moving, but mostly the military, like, how you doing? When you coming up here? Where you going next? Just keeping in contact with them.
All right, and Brian, what'd you come up with on?
Well, got a little, I guess, overlay or something like that, I guess you'd call it. So first off, I need to follow through with my initial contacts. So out of my 500 and whatever people on my phone, only made it through about 200 in the last month. So I need to like make the full round. And then with this, like, small leads that I've gotten, for instance, like, folks are saying, yeah, I got a buddy coming in a couple months up there, maybe we'll hit you up. I need to follow back with those guys,
Yeah,
the re-engage, and then I guess lately I've been taking like whatever open houses are just available compared to taking open houses or even looking for open houses that kind of fit the script of the folks that I'm trying to sell to, like Oscar areas. I just need to focus in.
have you guys touched base on what makes a good open house?
So, a little bit. My first one was at the Bear Palmer, the ranch.
Mhm.
And, the developer came in there and kind of told us directly a lot of things to do when we come in, lights on, different things like that. But just kind of help out with like,
Yeah, Rex would do that.
and obviously Matt gives us the sign in stuff.
But how do you, for those of you who don't have that team structure, how do you identify what is a good open house and what is not as far as a location?
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, even for my, I guess, folks that, that I'm targeting, or even the people that I know. Like for instance, I did a $1.2 million fourplex the other day, right? I don't know anybody that's ever had $1 million, so that didn't fit my bill, I had nobody show up. But I guarantee you, if was doing an open house with a 5-car garage place, I would probably have about half the people that I know show up to that, so I just need to kind of target.
So to answer your question, we covered this for those of you who attended the open house class that Taylor Fulfeld taught. We talked about, you know, 3 or less turns,
That's right.
very few turns to be able to, somewhere that's accessible, easy to access, easy to find, making sure that you have enough signs to be put out. So people can see it, especially if there's like a couple of different ways of getting there. Then if there's like a front way or a back way, then you're putting out as many signs from the main road to the house.
Yeah. And one thing, like, I was challenged when I was brand new is to do a 30 open houses in 30 days. And of the 12 of us who said we'd do it, I was the only one who did it. And I had good success with it I know this is not the class in open houses, but when you're looking at doing during the week, I did them right after school ended. And I made sure that I started at the exit of the school parking lot. And then I only had 3 to 4 turns, from there. So they were within a mile of the school. Because what did I want? I just don't want a random stoplight in the middle of the day when they're going to get the refrigerator from Lowe's. I wanted to hit all those people coming out of a school because they have kids, they have transition, they're traditionally needing to upsell, so. Anyways, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
No, but it's good because these little insights will offer help and fill in the gaps.
Yeah, and when you get their contact information, what I always did is, so I have my contact information with my sign-in sheet on this side, right? And it's labeled like 1 through 12. Well, one I always filled in the first blank with a different pen that was out in somebody else's handwriting, so it looked like somebody already filled it out, because one person will follow the rest. But when they filled it out, when they left, I turned it over and the same number, that'd be like number 2, 3 kids, Brian, Morgan, and Sharon. And loving Palmer, just bought the house, like any kind of notes I had. So then when I go back into my CRM for that line, I mean, if you have a successful open house and you have 12 meaningful conversations, could you remember person number 1 who came through the door, what their kids' names are? No, but as soon as they walk out the door and you just had a half-hour conversation with them, and it goes into your CRM, right? So you're building a connection because how many times did they sign into an open house, but you're the only one that remembered Jeremy was going to graduate in May. And so you set yourself a reminder in May in your CRM to send Jeremy a happy graduation card from Sharon Shaw, your future realtor, right? Those personal touch bases. Okay. Goal setting to the now. Well, we're no longer working.
Oh, we gotta click this curtain, sorry.
I'm such a- Bye. My screen. Go over to the meeting. Back. So. If you have 200 contacts in your database and you put them all on a 36 touch plan, how many touches is that per year? Anybody got a quick calculator? So if you have 200 contacts, that's 7,200 touches. That might feel exciting for some of you and overwhelming for others, but both responses are great because we both are at the point that we are in life. And so they also share the way to get there is to break, this is Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. If you don't know those names, learn those names. So they also share their way to get there is to break our someday goals into smaller goals and smaller goals beyond that. So, and that leads you to 36 to convert. And so we have 2 classes coming up that are going to help you a lot on June 16th and 17th on how to narrow down from your big why, your big goal, and break it down into actionable chunks that you can manage on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. It's going to be really, really good. You fixed it. I did. Aaron? The other thing I wanted to let you guys know is we kind of touched on emails before and how many spam emails. Like I have an email account that I just sign up for stuff and I don't even check it. I think I have like 12,000 unopened emails. Because I don't want all the spammy stuff, right? So the studies, if you look at them, not me, but you know, the studies that I read, people hardly open any of their emails anymore. So garnering the fact that you're getting a good response rate, yes or no, that's great. If you can get over 35%, you are rocking, dude. But don't forget the other touches then are much more effective because we've been bombarded with emails for over 20 years now, right? And people are just becoming immune to it. Like this, they're in there. But a phone call, a text, or a personal handwritten piece of mail goes a long way. Did you need it? We're good? And so, remember, it might seem like a daunting task, but every time you do one touch, you're closer to that 7,200 out of your 200 people, right? So, plan your touches. Who here, does everyone, I know I heard one person said they don't use command.
Yeah, they're on the team.
I have
but
command, I don't have.
You don't know how to get into it?
No, cause then my password, I have to get my password reset and then they just gave me a whole other account. I don't know. It's a whole different thing.
Okay, we're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on that.
So we have a 1-year goal, or we should all have a 1-year goal. What we're business owners, right? We need to have a business plan. And in your business plan, you need to have your 1-year goal, and you need to be able to break that number down by month, week, and day to be able to set a goal that is for now. So in your participant guide, there is a goal setting to the now in your real participant guide, it says. And it says, start with how many of the people in your database are contacts. And do you have permission to have contact with them for a 2-way conversation? Right? And so there's a number of steps here, and it says to multiply the number of your contacts by 4 to calculate how many telephone calls. So this is a step-by-step process. If you look at your participant guide, and if you don't know how to start, if you don't know what you need to do, find a number in your database and then follow your participant guide. It's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. And different CRMs have different capabilities. The one I use tells me who I need to call that day, who I need to send a handwritten letter to, and who handwritten letter, email, call. Yeah, and so those are my actions. Those every single day. It tells me what I need to do.
Yes, so maybe over didn't hear it right or something like it, but what gets somebody on no contact?
You can go online and register. Like I still get spam calls all the time. One, because I'm a sucker for surveys. I love them. But I went on the new do not call registry. You can do it via phone, or you can go online, just Google do not call registry, and you can put your name and your number and your address in there.
So Keller Williams has that.
No, it's just like, it's like do not call registry. It's a
Mm.
But I
national
was saying,
registry.
McKellar Williams has the updated list for us to bump it off.
We
of.
don't have, you need to get onto the registry, just to scrub your database and videos up there, no.
Yeah, we have a whole section in here that we're supposed to read through about. Yeah, the TCMP. So we will get there. But yeah, it's not 100%, but you're gonna,
If you
I
do,
mean,
what's the like repercussion if you accidentally did it?
There's a fine to the brokerage.
if they file it.
Yeah, if they file it, if they report it, and so then we could get fined, but I think does it start it? It's like,
You don't want fine. But the other thing is that you have to realize that there's, and this is why I'm not a legal expert.
Yeah.
I read a lot. A lot, okay? Read through it. And people are just saying, if you don't have permission to call them, but anytime somebody signs up and they give you their number, you're good. Past client, someone who came to your client event gave you the number, you're fine. If you think you have a different interpretation of that, read through that, get your own legal counsel. But when someone voluntarily gives you your number, they're willing to be in open communication with you. The problem is when you just, like when I was new, I didn't have money to pay for a CRM that gave me phone numbers, so I opened the phone book. Right? Cause that's a real thing. We have phone books.
oh my god.
You know, and I started calling, so I could have gotten in trouble, you know, back in 2012 when I started, but thankfully I didn't, but you have to be very, very cognizant of that. And just make sure you're scrubbing it. Alright, so combined smart plan, security 36 touches for your contacts. So Sharon, can you grab Brian Sherburne for me?
Yeah.
So Command has smart plans and I don't use Command, and so I'm gonna have Brian come in here and talk to you a little bit about smart plans and their capabilities. But no matter what your CRM is, you are going to be able to define within the parameters of what you have, what a smart plan, given the capabilities of your CRM are. And I have Brian Sherburne who's gonna walk up here and he's gonna just talk to you briefly about the capabilities of the smart plans and the purpose behind the smart plans within Command. And this is your speaking location, so they can see it.
All right. Okay, so. What do we?
Tell them about smart plans in Command, their capabilities and purpose.
Okay. So smart plans within Command are the way that you can do mass communications in a specific cadence with use of calls, emails, and texts. Okay, so within Command, you can set up a smart plan where, I don't know if I'm in camera. Okay, so within Command, you can set up a smart plan where like a 36 touch will allow you to send automatic emails, automatic texts, and reminders to make phone calls. You can set it up any way you'd like. But in order for the smart plans to work, you have to be able to either have your KW email set up or MailChimp set up, either one, which is easy to do in the settings. And if you have MailChimp, you just connect MailChimp with Command. In order for it to send text, you do need to have a Twilio account. That's also pretty easy to do through Command, but Twilio is the system that allows it to send out text on your behalf. So you can set up smart plans. I currently have smart plans set up for review and recommendation requests. I have them set up for birthdays. I have them set up for home anniversaries. I have them set up in 36 touches. I have a hot, warm, and cold. I have a Facebook new lead. I have Zillow new leads. And all of them are designed to communicate with the agents without you having to do each individual step on your own.
So they're pre-programmed within Command.
Yep.
You just have to select it.
Correct. So what you would do is you'd go to your contact and say you want to set them up to wish them a happy birthday every year. You're going to go inside Command. You're going to go to your contact. You're going to go to smart plans. It'll give you a drop-down window of how, which smart plans you want to select. You'll select those smart plans for your clients, and then it'll automatically start sending emails, texts, and reminders for you to give up, to call and touch base with the clients. So you can really do just about anything. The nice thing about the smart plans is there's a huge library. So you can go in within the smart plans when you're designing the smart plans and go into the library. Generally, to be honest with you, when I set up a smart plan, I don't do a lot of the typing and the verbiage. I just go into other smart plans and find the things that I like that it says, and then I just copy and paste it into my smart plan and just go with it. Okay? But you can set up hyperlinks, you can set up, you know, all kinds of stuff, and then within designs. What I tend to do with my smart plans is I have a design set up in Command Designs, which, by the way, if you guys didn't know, Keller Williams just recently signed a strategic partnership with Canva. And so Canva will now be more integrated within Command, which will make it really nice, because the designs function within Command is a little bit wonky. Currently, yep. So what I do is I design everything in Canva, I upload it into my designs, I add it to a smart plan, and then you can go from there. And so smart plans are super helpful because when you have 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 contacts, trying to email everyone individually, trying to text everyone individually, trying to call everyone individually is impossible. So you can automate all of those things within that smart plan. And again, just based on what kind of cadence you want to be reaching out to those folks, you set the smart plans up for that. But again, with the library, you don't really have to do a whole lot of thinking about it. If you want to know what a 36 touch smart plan looks like, you just go into the smart plan library and you put in 36 touch, and it'll pull up about 100 different 36 touch smart plans that are already in Command. And then you can just take it from there and customize it yourself. I personally don't like a smart plan with just text on it. I think that there's so many people in this world that get so many junk emails that if all they have to do is read, you're not going to get a huge response from the smart plan. So for me, in my smart plans, I like to make sure that there are things that they have to do in the smart plan to make them interact with the email. Either we have a video on there so that they have to watch the video, because everybody would rather watch a video nowadays than read a text or an email. You also want to have hyperlinks on your smart plan so that they can look for things and want to search for a home. In all of my smart plans, I have all of my links for social media, all of my contact information. So what I do is I have a set template of the basic smart plan, and then I go and I just add the text and the hyperlinks and the videos to that set smart plan background, basically, so that every smart plan that I send has my links on it, would you like to search for a home? Would you like to upload my app? All of the things that you would want to have on your smart plan, so you don't have to do that every single time you design a smart plan. So I have a template, and then I just add to that template, add the template to the smart plan, and then it's got a uniform look, and all of the things that you want them to have, the basics are there on every single thing that you send out. And then from there, you go in and you can go into designs and you can add to make it look nice and add all of your verbiage and things like that in there as well. So if you guys want to get more in depth on smart plans, I will tell you that the nice thing about Command is there's a YouTube video for just about everything under the face of the sun on how to do things within Command. And there's some really good ones about smart plans. But if you guys have any questions about how to get your smart plans set up, you guys can always reach out to me. And that
So
way,
can I really a little bit on your, what you do with your database? So you said you tag them as different things, right?
Yeah.
And so you're able, so say you have a bunch of fishing buddies,
Mhm.
right? And you wanted to something about, you're gonna do a camping trip or something like
Yeah.
that as a client event, you'd be able to identify easily without having to
Yeah.
pick your brain about who am I gonna invite on this trip.
Yep, absolutely. So when I put in a contact, I put in all kinds of tags, like, are they an April birthday? Are they a May birthday? You know, is their home anniversary on a certain month? And then they get tagged for that. Are they a Facebook lead? They get tagged for that. Are they in my top 100? They get tagged for that. Are they in my sphere? They get tagged for that. You know, I put all the tags in there as soon as I get them going. And then when I close out a transaction with them, I go and I update my tags. So that basically tags are like groups. So if I want to search for everyone with that tag, it makes things a whole lot easier. So I don't really want contacts in there without tags, because tags are the way I sort through all the thousands of people. And then, like you said, if they're fishing buddies, you've got a fishing buddy tag. And then I could just go to that tag, search that tag, pull up all my fishing buddies, and then send out a smart plan for that if I want to do that.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And I'll be honest with you, every Command isn't unique, right? Every CRM has these same functions, how to group people. Some people call it groups, some people call it tags, some people call it smart plans, some people call it campaigns. They're all the same thing. So, you know, if you're not using command, you do the exact same thing with any other program. You organize your clients and contacts by groups or tags. And then you set up a campaign or a smart plan, whatever you want to call it. And that way you can stay in constant contact with them without having to physically do it every day.
So let me ask you a question based on your experience. Do you think it's gonna be easier in year 5 when business is going and you have a good 5 solid years behind you to go back and start implementing who fits what? Or do you think you think it'd be a good idea as soon as you get the contact to add your tags?
Well, it's constantly evolving, right? So as soon as I get them in, I tag them with all the ones that I know that they are right off the bat. And then as I close a transaction, I move them to a past seller or a past buyer, add their home anniversaries, and then add the tags for that. So my tags are constantly evolving with the contact based on the communications that I have. The
Right.
nice thing about using command and any CRM really is in your timeline on the contact, it tells you all of the different contacts that you've made within that smart plan. So when you reach out to them to make a phone call, you can say, hey, I sent you an email about this. Did you get it? Hey, we sent you the text about this. So that, you know, my plan when I call somebody in command is I open up my command contact. I look at the communications that's happened in the past before I call them. I call them, I have a conversation with them. And while I'm having that conversation, I'm making notes of our conversation so that when the next time comes around that I have to call them, I have all of the notes of the conversation that we had, because there's no way I'm gonna remember that I talked to Brian 4 months ago as a client and that Brian's mom or grandma or whatever, and the dog, whatever, and the kids, whatever. I put all of that in my notes of my communication so that when the next time I call Brian, I can say, hey, last time we talked grandma, last time we talked mom, last time we talked to kids, last time we talked to dog. And that way they have the feeling that you've been thinking about them for 4 months, when the reality is you just take really good notes so that you can review those notes before you make that call and then update those notes as you're on the conversation. And then your brain can shut off of Brian for the next however many months until that comes back up on your smart plan tasks that says, hey, don't forget to call Brian again. Then I go back into my contacts, I open it up, I review my notes, I review our last conversation that we had. I'm ready to call Brian, call him again. How you doing? Just checking in, making all my notes, turn them off, go on to the next one. So that's the cadence that you want to get in the habit of, is we don't ever talk to clients without having some way to take notes that is associated with that contact. So whether it's going to be brevity, whether it's going to be, you know, command, whether it's going to be Real Geeks, whatever the program is that it is, Buffini, any of them, they all basically have the same capabilities. So the goal is communication that's happening without you having to physically do it. And then keeping record of those communications so that you can review that. And so whatever the program is that you have, that's how you want to have it set up. Because if you don't keep in communication with them, you're going to call them 4 months later and you're going to say, hey, Brian, how you doing? And Brian's going to say, I'm doing really great. I just bought a new house.
Are you gonna see it pop up on the hot list?
Yes. And you're going to go, dang it, I should have kept in better contact, right?
Yeah.
But keeping in contact, you know, calling each client 36 times in order to get to your 36 touch is not reasonable. And they'll be annoyed by you calling them that many times. So that's why you smatter some texts, some emails, and some calls in there, quarterly calls, whatever it is that you happen to do, so that that stuff is working in the background. So you're not having to physically do it.
Right, and the point I was trying to get around to is, it's easier for new agents to start now
Oh, yeah.
than trying to do it in 5 years, when you have 5 years of business and you're trying to take care of those
100%.
clients, than going backwards in your CRM.
Yeah, everyone that goes in your so if they go as a contact, they should be tagged and they should be set up with some sort of communication smart plan, campaign, whatever you want to call it. Okay, because we all know that we get going and we totally forget to call Brian. Right? And then we see his house on the market pop up on the hot sheet and we go, what the heck happened? And they say, well, I didn't talk to you for the last 6 months. I didn't even know if you were still a realtor. So I listed with my friend's brother's cousin's sister. You know what I mean? That's how it goes. Right? So, having that communication that's automated so that you can stay in constant contact with your clients without having to physically do it is the point of the smart plans and the campaigns. But if you're not setting it up properly, the other thing about smart plans that I want to make sure that you're watching is you don't want to send a, hey, we haven't talked smart plan if you've talked to them, right? So my Facebook smart plan, when somebody comes in on Facebook and says, hey, I'm interested or should tell me about this property, right? They automatically go into a smart plan that starts communicating with them about Facebook leads and things like that, and things that I would want to tell them if I knew they were a Facebook lead. And then it will auto tag them and it will auto start the smart plan for you if you set it up properly. And then it, like the first one is, how you doing? I saw you looked at a listing on my Facebook page. Is there anything we can do to help you? And then the next one is, hey, we haven't heard from you yet, and so on and so on. Well, if I do happen to talk to Brian, the last thing in the world I want to do is send him a smart plan email tomorrow that says, hey, we haven't talked yet. Because they're going to go, what do you mean? We talked yesterday. So as you're having those communications in those smart plans, I get my Facebook one, I communicate with Brian, and then he goes from Facebook smart plan, I turn that one off because we've now talked, and then I put him in a hot, warm, or a cold. Based on our conversation. Right? Buyer or seller, yep, hot, warm, or cold. So, having your smart plan set up so that you can move them from smart plan to smart plan that's appropriate, is the goal. Right? And then there'll be some that are just cold, and you're gonna send them an email once a month, or you're gonna set them up on their neighborhood nurture, which is really nice. If you got people who are interested in a neighborhood or a potential listing lead, you can set them up on this neighborhood nurture smart plan. And what that does is it collects information about their neighborhood and sends them an email monthly that just says, hey, these homes in your neighborhood have sold, these homes in your neighborhood are pending, these homes in your neighborhood are active. And you start dripping that information on them so that they know what's going on in their neighborhood. So that when they become ready to list, you can, have sent them they'll know a lot about the neighborhood. So,
Is there anyone in-house or online that wants to pick Brian's brain before we let him get back to his big do list?
any questions, guys? Silence. Okay.
I think, there was probably a question in regard to the TCPA,
Uh-huh,
and I know we've covered it in the past.
yep. Oh,
Yeah, so can we touch on some key points, like how do they verify
so
that?
there's a national database that you're gonna go in and you're gonna enter their number in to see if it's on the do not call registry. There are companies that will scrub your entire database at once. I would recommend that you go through your database at least once a month or so and scrub it to the do not call registry. If you're going in and doing each phone call individually, that takes a little bit more tedious. But remember, if you're hiring a company to do the work for you, you're responsible for those calls that you make if they're incorrect. So doing it as a mass scrub with a company, there's a little bit more liability in that, because if they're wrong, so are you, and you're the one that's gonna get in trouble for it. So,
And just so you guys know, it's the TCPA, Telephone Consumer Protection Act. That document is at the very beginning of your participant guide. So read through that. It'll talk about auto dialers, artificial voice and pre-recorded messages. It will talk about prior express or written consent and federal and state laws. So very, very important that you do that.
yeah, make sure that you stay compliant, because you don't wanna get fined a bunch of money for calling somebody.
All
Okay,
right, Brian, thank you.
all right, I'll be back in.
No, we're just concluding here for today. So I just want to have like a little quick conversation with you guys. If you could take one thing away from today, whether it was the first class or the second class, what would you take away? And I just want to hear points, because we're gonna hear different information in different ways. I said the same thing 60 times today in an hour and a half. So, I'd like to get some participation to make sure you guys are all awake and still with me. Ariane? Dion?
Yes, I am. I guess for me, one of the best things is just this continual reminder to myself that I need to continue relationship with people. Like once I do business, because that was one of the biggest issues I've had, is I just didn't continue, going back through and having communication with people. And that's a great reminder today, just that I need to stay in touch with them literally forever.
Literally, yes. Until they say stop. You're their realtor for life. Yeah, thank you. How about Luke? Any insights from today?
Yeah, I was sort of thinking the same thing. Like, I had a buyer that said, he wasn't interested for a year. And then I kind of waited like a month or so and then shot him a text just like, hey, how's it going? Like, ready to do some fishing this year, blah, blah, blah. And then his whole plans actually changed and he's I think bumped up his timeline because he's staying in Anchorage now instead of going down to Seward like his original plan was. But, if I would have waited another month or so before reaching out, he might have already had a different real estate or realtor. So definitely just keeping up with people regardless of what they say their timeline is. Things change and people's ideas change.
Okay. How about somebody who hasn't talked on? I feel like I call them the same people again and again. Do one more.
I just in the last class that Matt taught, his role playing and about like conversations, being assertive and letting them like being assertive, but also letting them lead, if that makes sense. Was super helpful.
Good. All right. So the thing before I let you go about your day and here with Sharon and continue is to impress upon you is when you're new, you have to start now. And you have to start your consistency now. I know I'm giving you the glare, Brian, but you're my only one in here. Because really your success depends on you. And how much you're committed to your business is how well you'll do. And so making sure that you're starting off the right way, that now is the time that you get to tell your business about how you want it to go in the future. And that would inspire me when I was new, but it also seemed daunting. So you need to pick one thing. And your one thing right now needs to be getting a firm grasp on your database and starting that communication. Because you are not just working on now business, you're working on future business. If you plan on being here in 5 years, you need to be talking to the people now who are ready to sell in 5 years. You can't just always have now business. You need to have then business as well. And by having a good CRM, having your smart plan set up, doing all your different things and doing them, not even at a high level today. Okay, you'll get to a high level with experience because you're going to go, crud, I just saw a Facebook post about somebody's birthday yesterday. I should have sent a birthday card 2 weeks ago, right? How can you touch them? Different things like that. And, making milestones with them, celebrating with them, like putting a note in your CRM to remind you, or maybe you don't use your CRM, maybe you have Google Calendar, setting an event every day you have a recording every single year. Don't forget to tell Sharon and Nate Shaw, happy houseversary, right? A simple text. So if you're not paying for something, use Command. If you don't like Command, find a system that works for you. Talk to other realtors. Come in. I sit right here, right off the main area. I'm an open book. You guys can talk to me anytime you want. My love is for new realtors in this business because I know what's before you and how challenging it is. So if I can be of any help to you guys, just know I'm here for you. Okay?
Hey, thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna touch base with you guys here real quick.